What's up? This is Johnny from Assassinator, and I'm going to do a tier list ranking of the Godflesh albums. This was one of my favorite bands growing up, and I just think it's an interesting band enough to talk about and do a tier list ranking on. And yeah, let's get into it. So, I'm going to start with the first EP, and I think this is worth including because I think it stands enough on its own merit to be warranted to be included on this list. You got yeah, the Avalanche Master song, of course, is considered to be the classic. It's fun. Godhead and Weak Flesh, I think, are some gnarly, kind of sludgy tracks, and Spinebender is a pretty pummeling kind of song. Yeah, that's a pretty decent EP. It's definitely not my favorite, and I think they've definitely advanced past this point, but it's nonetheless a good start. I'll put it about here. And that goes into the first actual album, Street Cleaner. And this is kind of an interesting one to rank too because it includes Tiny Tears EP, the CD only release, which sounds radically different from the rest of the album. Hell, even some of the tracks on the album sound a little bit different from the first few. I'm pretty sure that there was like a change in recording session or something. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a heavy album. Like Rats and Christbait Rising are definitely some bleak ones. Head Dirt, I really love that track. Dream Long Dead is also very bleak. Yeah, Street Cleaner's got a good there's a good reason why that one is liked. Albeit maybe I think that the intro goes on for a little bit too long, but Locust Furnace would be a great closer. But nonetheless, the Tiny Tears songs are also really good. I want to say inclusion, but also it is almost jarring enough to where it is pretty different from the rest of the album. But nonetheless, I don't know. I want to say that there's also some mixing, like even with some of those harmonics. Like I feel like there's those higher frequencies in there that make it a little bit painful to listen to. So my thoughts on it, I don't think it's my favorite, but I do think that it has a lot of merit, and I would still go back to a lot of the songs on there. I think the band Aborted ripped off the song Mighty Trust Crusher, by the way. I forget what that song was by Aborted, but you can definitely hear it if you ever do check it out. It was on I think it was the Necrotic Manifesto that album was on. Anyway, that's besides the point, but I'm going to move on here. Moving on to Pure. I think this might be their best album, and I think probably a top recommendation for anybody new listening to it. It's got a great sound. It reminds me a lot of Soul of a New Machine by Fear Factory, except, much more industrial sounding with the machine drums on it. Spite is an awesome song. I did a cover of that. Mothra is great. I Wasn't Born to Follow was a great mid-pace one. Pure, interesting, had some interesting hip hop rhythms brought in there. Uh, yeah, I did like some of the Nintendo-ish synth sounds of Baby Blue Eyes. Don't Bring Me Flowers had some unique uses of harmonics, which is a staple of Justin Broderick's sound. But, oh yeah, Predominance is a crusher too. Yeah, I'm going to say this is probably deserving of being at the top, because I think this embodies it. I think this is a magnum opus album, for sure. I love the artwork. I love the sound of it. I think it's a great album. And then this goes into Selfless. This is the one album I actually have on vinyl, and I do not have very many vinyls. Yeah, they definitely go in a much more melodic direction in this. I love Blackbone Angel and Imperial. I think those are awesome songs. Body Dome Light. Some people really love that song, and I think it's still good too. I don't think there's any songs on here I don't like. I think it starts off a little bit slow with the first couple tracks, but and I don't really care for anything as mine either. But I think "Crush My Soul" is also a really solid song. Um, Toll, it's got like a nice chugging rhythm going on through the whole thing. Heartless and Mantra kind of run together for me, but in a good way. I love "Go Spread Your Wings." I think that is an awesome utilization of a long song. I think that is done right, and I think they're the best band to make an above 20-minute song that I've ever heard. So, um, yeah, I think it definitely goes very high up there. I don't know if I want to say near perfect because I mean, I can still kind of do the first two tracks, but fuck it, going to the top for me. But I'm pretty sure I still like Pure more. And that leads into songs of love and hate. I think this is a very underrated one. Uh, yeah, this is the first one that they had an actual session drummer involved in, and pretty sure he was also playing live with them too. But yeah, "Wake" is a great song. "Circle of Shit's a really cool song. And "Hunter," I love that song. And there's some really like dismal, like eerie riffs on here that I really enjoy. I've heard this referred to as a new metal album, but take that however you will. I don't care. I don't think that's entirely inaccurate. But yeah, even the bonus track "Almost Heaven" is really good too. "Frail's" beautiful in its melancholic nature there. Damn. Yeah. If you can't tell, I do have an admiration for this band. I think this one's also a very solid choice. Like I said, very underrated one. Then we get into "Us and Them." This is an interesting one. It definitely goes like all in on the electronic, like techno, drum and bass, whatever dub kind of yeah, generally electronic direction. And oddly enough, like as soon as they brought in a session drummer, then they backtrack, or well, I guess not necessarily backtrack, but definitely go all in industrial. But there's still enough metal elements in there with the guitar. But yeah, the guitar sounds weird. It sounds very muddy, but I don't know. It's just weird. "Us and Them," I'm pretty sure Fear Factory leaned on that song for the song "What Will Become" from Digimortal. "I Meet Mine" was cool to see live whenever I saw them live. "Witch Hunt" is a very eerie feeling song with the way that the bass line is implemented in there. "Whose Truth Is Your Truth" is a cool track. I think tracks like "Defiled" are a little bit stale. I don't care much for that one. I think "Bittersweet's" okay. "Descent" has potential, but I'm not sure how I feel about that. "Internal" has a kind of bleak, melancholic sound to it. "Live to Lose" is definitely the oddball on there because that was recorded from the Selfless sessions, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's a pretty decent album. I definitely wouldn't call it one of their best necessarily, but I mean, wait, I grabbed the wrong one. It's somewhere between here and there. I think that's a fair placement for it because it's still an acquired taste. I'm pretty sure Justin Broadwick also said he hated this album at first too, but started gaining a like for it, just like I have. But I'm still not putting it up there either. "Hymns" is going to be an interesting take because I remember really liking this album and I love the guitar tone on it. I think "Defeated" is a beautiful song. I love that song. But I'm going to say that over time I've started to hate these songs a lot more. I don't like the second track. Anthem kind of died off on me. "Voidhead" I don't like. White Flag, I'm alright with that one. Animals, I really like the riff for that one. Vampires, Anti-Human was an interesting one. It's still got a little bit of that us and them kind of thing going on with it. Regal would be a good closing track, but Yesu is definitely probably, if not defeated, I'd say Yesu is definitely one of the strongest tracks on here. Where do I want to put this? I think there's a good reason why people often rank this a little bit lower on the scale of how much they like their albums. So I don't know. It's a Swan Song album. It was definitely like I think it's a fair album to go off on, but I'm not sure. I don't want to put it that low, but at the same time, I don't like many of the songs on here either. Like the songs that are good are really good, but the songs that are not good just yeah. And the album is pretty bloated too, going at 74 minutes. But then again, that's also because there's a time gap at that last track. Yeah, I'm gonna put it there. I think that some tracks do carry the weight of the other ones. I think if you tossed a couple of the tracks on here, it'd be probably potentially an 8. So that's where I'm going to stand with that one, just despite my perplexed feelings about it. So yeah, that was originally going to be a Swan Song album, Hymns was, and then Justin Broadwood would focus on Yesu among many other projects until about 2010 here, I believe, yeah. Whenever he comes back for a new Godflesh album, him and GC Green, or BC, whatever is preferred, I guess. Yeah, A World Lit Only by Fire. Yeah, they're tuning lower, I think. At least he's got another string on his guitar. But yeah, New Dark Ages impressed me whenever I first heard that. Shut Me Down is pretty good. Yeah, a couple of these were maybe a little bit stale for me. I don't know. Tower of Emptiness, I think, was pretty good. I did like Forgive Our Fathers. I'd say this is a pretty good one. Yeah, I think it's a fair placement for it. And then we get back into another Us and Them styled experimental album, interestingly enough, a couple of years later. I remember buying this album, Post Self, the week that it came out at my local record store. And the title track's fine. I do think this album is pretty underrated. Yeah, I can't say there are any songs I dislike off of this one. I think it is pretty solid. Yeah, I love the bass work that's being done on here. I like some of the sampling. I think there's a lot of creativity brought into this one. And it's pretty brief on top of that, too. Probably one of their most brief ones. I think that's a pretty good placement for it. And here we are with our latest release to date, Purge. Yeah, Nero is pretty standard. First track to be able to kick things off and premiere the album with, or tease the album with. Landlord is definitely my favorite song on the album. Army of Dawn, I think that the sample gets a little repetitive. I do not like Lazarus Leper. Permission is... yeah, it's pretty good. You Are the Judge, Jury, and Executioner, I think is, if not Landlord, that one would probably be the best one on there. So yeah, there's a couple tracks I didn't like off of this one. I'd say that one probably, I feel the same way as I do about Us and Them with that one. So, yeah, I don't think they have any bad albums. I think with the amount of uniqueness in the listen, and yet me wanting to listen to something casually, they all have always made a good mix, and that's what's made them an interesting band. uh, and still sound heavy as hell, despite maybe not being your typical deathcore bands, always throwing in as many breakdowns as they can, and rather than just doing a bunch of squeals, the creative mind of Justin Broderick will throw in some melody with these harmonics that he is able to implement. Like, yeah, he's a brilliant musician, and I think this band is. I've always thought they were underrated, and to be fair, there are a lot more bands out there that aren't getting recognition. But I would have to say, yeah, if anybody's trying to get into Godflesh, this would probably be a good list reflecting my feelings about listening to them. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever comes out next. If this, if Godflesh does continue, and no, Justin had to quit had to quit Godflesh for a little bit just because of where he was at the time. So yeah, I just see where the future brings. I'm looking forward to whatever he has to bring to the table, though. Hope you enjoyed the video. I mean, if you wanted to share any thoughts or anything, then feel free. I don't think I would piss anybody off with this kind of list. I mean, especially because I had an entire bracket down here that I didn't even use at all. So, yeah, there's my thoughts. Thanks for watching.